We have the IBM team all the way from United States, and we have Dr. Melissa Sassi as well as Lucas Sean. Melissa is Chief Penguin with the IBM-Z community within the IBM. So I'll allow Melissa to do her thing. Please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. So I have some introduction slides in my presentation. Since I'm joining a little bit late, Abdullateef, how much time do I have to go over the presentation materials?
Yes, you have 40 minutes, and you can interact with them with 15 minutes. Thanks.
Okay, super. So we should have enough time to get through everything despite starting late. What I'm going to do is, did you have a chance, Lucas, to introduce yourself yet?
No, not yet. Hey everyone, I'm Lucas. I'm the product owner for the IBM-Z student experience with IBM-Z. It's all about reaching students like you all on this call today and engaging with you about opportunities relating to enterprise computing.
Let's just say no issue.
All right, super. Thank you, Lucas, and thank you for everyone's patience. I think if we could all mute our phones, that would be super. I know all of us have a lot going on. That will awesome. Thank you all. Super. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. Lucas, just confirming. It looks to me like it's okay on my side. Okay on yours?
Yep, looking good.
Super. All right. So what we're here to talk about is, well, are you future ready? We're going to find out. So let's jump in, and I'll tell you a bit about me. Lucas has already introduced himself. We work very closely together on a number of different things, a lot of different things. So I'm Dr. Melissa Sassi, and I am IBM-Z's Chief Penguin. You're probably thinking, what the heck does that mean? I came up with my own fun little job animal title, because who wants a boring job title anyway? And I think when you work in a big tech company like Lucas and I, and maybe many of you, or what many of you may aspire to be working in one day, who wants to be called whatever? And I think, we are on a mission in 2022 to figure out, what Lucas's job title is going to be, because I don't know about y'all, but Chief Penguin is a heck of a lot more fun than product owner. So we're going to figure that out together. I don't know what it's going to be and if Lucas is ready for it, but I suspect he's getting ready as I speak. So I work on our student and entrepreneur experience team. I head up our IBM Hyperprotect Accelerator. It's something that I created, and I'm the kind of founder, if you will. I'm a bit of an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur, meaning that I'm a creator, an innovator, a maker and doer, both inside of IBM and outside of IBM. We'll talk about that in a second. For those of you who are on Twitter, you can find me at Mentor Africa with a K. And many of you who are on the continent thinking, wait a second, where is this Africa thing coming from? I'm based out of Dallas, Texas. I have spent a lot of my time in the my children are half Tunisian. I have a co-working space, a robotics lab, and an IoT lab in Tunis, Tunisia. So I spent a lot of my time there, and in that capacity, we have taught tens of thousands of young people to code in 12 countries. I've got my own ed tech startup. You're all going to hear about that, probably sometime next year. I'm aiming for March. So you're going to get like a little bit of a snippet of some of the stuff that is going to be, in the mobile application that I'm building, again, in my own personal capacity for fun outside of my, my role at IBM. So yeah, let's jump in. So I think one of the big things when it comes to being prepared for the future of work, no matter how old you are, no matter how young you are, no matter what your experience level is, or no matter what industry you're going in. And that means being a bit of whatever it is that makes you you. Because all of us are unique, all of us are, have our own strengths, also our own weaknesses, and our superpowers. So as I mentioned, I'm an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur, super passionate about digital skills. I am the chair of the IEEE Digital Skills and Readiness Working Group. What that means is we're part of creating the first world standard for what it means to be digitally literate. We're going to talk a little bit about what's included in that standard today, where you can learn a little bit more, and how you individually and those you enable and empower every day can learn the digital skills that are necessary, really get beyond being just a consumer of technology into being a creator, a maker, and doer empowered by technology, like many of you today. I am also, very passionate about youth engagement. I believe in, including youth at the center of that we do, because they are our future. And if we are creating products and services and solutions for the future, why not have the future, along with us? I am a writer, a speaker, also a bit of an academic, and as I mentioned, I'm very active in the IEEE, so that makes me an avid volunteer, as many of you who are also active in the IEEE are very well aware. One of the values that we all hold near and dear to us. I think the other thing that is really necessary as we think about the future of work is really imagining and
Lucas, I think we lost Melissa.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was on my end or not. She did just move into a new home, which we're all excited for her, but that may mean that her internet is less. Let's see if we can get her back. Yeah, so she let me know that she was actually dropped out of her out of the meeting, so she's trying to get back in right now. So apologies for the technical difficulties. But I believe what. Oh, now we lost the screen as well. So I think I should have it as well. Cool. Abdullateef, could you confirm that you're able to see?
Yes, we can see her. I think she's back.
Oh, she's back in.
Yep.
Yes, I'm back. All right. For some reason, my router came, or my router came unplugged. I don't know. I'm blaming on my dog. All right, super. Let me just get back to what I was presenting. I'm gonna just reshare again. We all know that sometimes connectivity and technology is not so serendipitous for us to talk about, because we're talking about digital skills. If everyone could mute their lines, that would be super.
You can't see your slides. Can you please share your screen?
Abdullateef, is it possible to
Yes,
mute
she's saying they're requesting for you to share your screen. They can't see your slide. The event is held in person as well as virtual. So it's an hybrid event. So people from the hall are requesting for you to share your screen.
Yeah, I don't have that option. It's grayed out. Should I try to come out and back in again?
No. I think they can give you that access. Rislan.
So while we're waiting for, for access for me to be able to share my screen again, Lucas, can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, super. What I was talking about as I'm waiting for access to be able to share my screen is that, oh, super, it's coming across right now. I'm really big, and as well as you all should be, around making the impossible possible. And, really that's kind of thinking about, kicking your perfectionism, to the curb. And what I mean by that is really thinking about how do you not strive for perfection every time you're trying to achieve a certain goal. Sometimes good is good enough. I'm a reformed perfectionist. I'm also a big fan of making sure that as you're doing everything that you're doing in life, gather your Thrive Hive, which is the group of people around you who are infectiously positive and who are always enabling you, inspiring you, and cheerleading you along, especially when things don't go as well as planned. But also remembering that you belong, you have a seat at the table, and you deserve to have a seat at the table, and you are not an imposter. All right, super. So we know that many jobs of the future haven't been even imagined yet. And I don't know about you all, but I'm still worried, even though I feel like I have this recipe for success. So I guess question for you, what kind of career stuff, what kind of future of work things are you most worried about? I'm going to just open up the chat window, and maybe I'll call on you initially just to get things started. Abdullateef and Lucas, what are you most worried about when it comes to the future of work? And just use the chat window. You don't need to worry about, kind of saying it live. If you want to use the chat window, just to encourage others to share in the chat window.
One thing I'm worried about as we await some comments from our audience here is maintaining relevant skills as we see the future of work developing and changing, making sure that I know what I need to know and I'm continuing to learn all the while.
It's scary stuff. Abdullateef, what are you most worried about when it comes to your career? Oh, I see it. Continually remaining relevant. Yeah. How do we make sure that our skills are relevant? Our skills are needed. We've heard about lots of different industries, changing. And, what role is AI going to play, for example? We don't want to be irrelevant. So great answers. What are you doing now? So, Lucas, what are you doing now to make yourself future ready? How are you maintaining your relevance in the world?
Yeah, so I'm making sure that I'm maintaining my kind of love of learning and making sure that I'm trying to learn something new, if not every day, then at least every week. That and making sure that these skills are relevant to what I'm doing and where I want to move in my career. So recently that's taken a little bit of interest into learning about Google Analytics and how I can better leverage that platform into what I do. And I don't have an analytics background, so I'm kind of starting from ground one there. So I'm hoping that makes me a little bit more future ready.
All right, super, super, super. And then Abdullateef, he says, read ahead on trends of the industry and just reading. I'm an avid reader. My partner is just astounded by the amount of reading that I do. And I think for him, he's probably never seen someone read so much in their life. I don't know if that's good or bad. For me, it's good. For him, he's kind of like, oh, can you put your phone down? Can you put your tablet down? Can you put your computer down? Can you put that book down and pay attention to real life while you're busy reading? Real life is happening. So we all talk about the balance of, how much should we prepare? How much should we learn? How much should we read? And make sure that we are, maintaining our presence and thinking about, our mindfulness. So, wow, we hear a lot about the fourth industrial revolution. I know that there are, many people out there who are thinking about the way beyond of when, we're going to go out and visit, visit space and travel through space and, introducing phones that can operate in space and maybe, a distant future where, AI could potentially conflict with our lives, or maybe even be friendly for our lives, while taking into consideration bias and ethics and all of that kind of stuff. So where can you start? My recommendation for you is check out this checklist of skills that I'm going to share with you today. This is a great checklist of what are the things in 3 different avenues that you can go and check out. And they're all things that will help you not only in your everyday life as just a human, as just a family person, a member of the family, member of the community, an educator, a student, a worker, a future worker, whatever it is. Be a learn it all. And it sounds like Abdullateef is already taking that into consideration, as I expect most of you are as well. So what we're going to talk about today is what I call Dr. Sassi's trifecta of skills, and it's really 3 components that make up what I consider to be the future of work, and that's digital skills and readiness. And no, it's not just about coding and data science and AI and machine learning. Digital skills are a heck of a lot more than just, can I build a mobile application? Can I build a website? Can I code? Am I an engineer? Am I a computer scientist? Because we know not everybody is meant to be, a data scientist or an engineer. However, as good consumers who are part of the digital economy, we should all understand the basic building blocks of learning to code, even if we don't code, as well as many of the other factors that we're going to talk about today. Second thing is professional development skills, or what I like to call habitudes, habits and attitudes. The last thing then is entrepreneurial thinking. And I don't care if you do not want to ever be an entrepreneur in your life. I don't care if you never want to be a CEO and founder. There are skills that an entrepreneur has that are relevant for you in your everyday life. Whether you want to be the CEO and founder, or you want to be an employee or a leader or an executive in someone else's company. Because similar to what I said about being an engineer, not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. All right, so let's talk about skill set 1. That's digital skills and readiness. So 8 things to master. And when I say master, I look at this as a wheel of competencies. And imagine this wheel has these 8 components on it, or to it. Digital identity, so what's your identity online? How are you protecting your identity? How are you enabling your personal brand to be seen in the virtual world and translating that to the in-person world so that people know who you are, what you are, and you've demonstrated that through your LinkedIn profile, maybe through Facebook, through Twitter, through Snapchat. Because I'm here to tell you, if you don't think that having an online presence matters, it does. And it also enables you to create and craft your own narrative when other people are not in the room, or when you're not in the room and other people want to describe you and say what you're all about. People who you don't even know establish a view of who you are, what you're all about, what you're good at, what you're not good at, based on your presence, okay? Next thing is digital use. And this is, how often are you using technology? How often are you using it to be productive? Are you using it in a way that is good for your health? Are you using it excessively? And are you using it in a way to be more productive? So examples of productivity tools might be, well, currently we're both communicating online and we're also being a little bit more productive because none of us had to get on a plane. None of us had to leave our office or our hometown or our village or our community to have this discussion, all right? Next thing is, and I like to combine kind of safety and security together, but in reality, they're a little bit separate. Safety is really about how are you being safe online? This is where, trolls and safe content, being a good person online, recognizing when you need to report someone versus not, recognizing what you should share about your physical location, whether that's where you live, where you are, what have you. What should you share? What should you not share? We all have our own thresholds of what that is. I might be comfortable checking into a restaurant when I'm at that restaurant. You may not be. We all have our own thresholds. There are certain places in the world where I check in after because I might be in a high-risk location based on a number of different circumstances. You might live in a high-risk location where you don't ever feel comfortable sharing your exact whereabouts. The same goes for maybe high-profile individuals. Security. How are you protecting your sensitive data? Now, I'm talking about the consumer aspect, the individual aspect of the things that you need to master to be a good consumer. Keep in mind, you can dial these digital skills up and down depending upon whether you want to be a consumer of technology, a creator of technology, meaning you're building solutions for yourself and others, or a thought leader, where you're a consumer, you're creating technology, products, solutions, whatever, content, or you're a thought leader, an educator, an influencer. You're teaching others how to do these things. So security might be, how are you keeping other people's data secure? How are you keeping your own data secure? Where's your data going? Who has access to your data? Are you okay with that? Digital emotional intelligence. This is one of my favorites. And it's one thing that a lot of people don't consider when they think about digital skills. Emotional intelligence is really about how do you manage your own emotions? How do you recognize the emotions in others? How do you have better relationships based on you being able to control your own emotions, identify the emotions in others, and regulate them appropriately? It's the ability to have crucial conversations when you need to. It's being able to recognize when emotions are high online about a certain topic. And it's about knowing how to communicate, what to share, what not to share. You know, obviously, media literacy comes into play here. How are you recognizing media misinformation, disinformation? How are you responding to that? How does it make you feel? Are you creating things and sharing things and influencing others to believe things that are not real? We know this can have real lasting impacts that can lead to physical implications. It can also lead to a disruption in our democracy or our political systems, our social systems, our relationships with our families. Communication, here's another good example. How are you using technology to communicate online? We're on a communication tool right now. We're using WhatsApp. We're using social media to connect to one another. We're communicating our ideas, our thoughts. Again, not getting involved in media misinformation and disinformation. We're looking at the sources of the materials that's out there. We're being data-driven. Digital literacy, this is where computational thinking, coding, computer science, AI, machine learning, that's where this comes into play. Again, I'm not saying that everybody needs to be an engineer, but we all need to understand the basic building blocks of what it means. What is AI? What are the implications in our lives and the lives of others? What is good AI? What does it mean to have ethics, transparency, and trustworthiness in AI? I'm a big fan of everyone at least having some kind of computer science class. I'd love to have more underrepresented communities in both data science, computer science. And then lastly, our rights. What content and materials do we own? And what are our rights to be able to have access to the internet, access to digital skills, to, again, not just be a consumer of technology, but dialing all these skills up to a point where you're a creator, a maker, a doer, an influencer, an educator. You're empowering others who may not have access to the skills that you have access to. You can dive deep into each of these, whether you're 4 or 104 at the dqinstitute.org. This is what was endorsed by the IEEE as the framework for what it means to be digitally literate. If you are ever going out and sharing your digital skills forward, or looking to broaden your digital skills, start here, start there, figure out what you want to dive deep into, and figure out what formal and informal education opportunities are available in each of these sections, or in the section that most inspires or interests you. All right, Lucas, Abdullateef, Bello, Guarzo, I'm going to call on you too. Pick the digital skill that you're most interested in learning about and share it in the chat window. So I'm going to go back in case you forgot. All right, Lucas, which one fires you up? Maybe none of them do, but which one do you want to learn more about that you feel that, you know what, I need to know more about this. I'd like to, really broaden my experience in this area. If you want to, you can include a couple, but which one do you think you're most interested in?
Yeah, I'm going to take a couple here and go with digital identity. So really how you present yourself online. I think that that's really important, really impactful as we move into the future where everyone knows more about you than they ever could possibly know before they even meet you. And then digital literacy is also huge with exactly what you were saying, and just making sure that you understand what you're reading on the internet as fact or fiction, and that is hugely important.
Awesome. Abdullateef, he says digital security, so cybersecurity, keeping everyone safe and, himself and his family safe. And then David's got digital emotional intelligence. I, personally, currently am fired up about data protection, privacy, and security. Part of my program at IBM, the IBM Hyperprotect Accelerator, is all about enabling startups to build and scale that are focused on, that are collecting, transmitting, or storing personally identifiable information or sensitive intellectual property. I'm super interested right now in the role that technology plays to protect our sensitive data, as opposed to just using training and education. I don't believe that training and education is enough. I believe that we need to have products like IBM Cloud Hyperprotect services that more companies need to be aware of. And I believe that one of the big roles that I need to play is in evangelizing the role that tech can play to protect our sensitive data. Not everybody knows that there are certain technical tools out there that can help you better compartmentalize your data, help it be kind of the Fort Knox of the internet, the Fort Knox of cloud computing. That's something I'm super interested in. And David, on the digital emotional intelligence front, and for those of you who picked emotional intelligence, I would recommend you do some research from a guy named Daniel Goleman. He is the, what I consider, I don't know, maybe the father or godfather of emotional intelligence. He's got a bunch of books. You can find a lot of his materials online. He's a psychologist by trade. I had an opportunity to present with him at the World Economic Forum. I think that was in 2019. Yeah, it was, in New York. And he is on the forefront of what it means to have this skill. And if I had to pick out one skill that is the most important skill on this list, that's not about coding, not about computer science, not about STEM, that impacts both your online world, your professional world, your personal world, the relationship with your partner, your wife, your husband, your daughter, whatever, it's emotional intelligence. It is the most impactful skill that you can have to empower your career to new heights. Abdullateef, over to you. I see you raised your hand.
I agree with you, align with you. Digital and mental intelligence, very, very key.
Yep, 100%. I agree. Keep your emotions in check. It's hard, especially when you're home with your partner and you would disagree, or you disagree with your boss, and you're like, "You are crazy. What are you thinking? I completely disagree." How do you still maintain that good relationship and not only not get fired from your job because you've not handled your emotions appropriately with your boss, but you also are not on the verge of divorce, from your partner. All right, super. Next thing then, we already did that. We picked some digital skills. Let's move on. Next thing is what are professional development skills, or what I call habitudes, habits and attitudes. And this one here, I didn't put a reference down here because there are tons of opportunities for learning, either through the IBM-Z Global Student Hub and the events that we have where we focus on a lot of these things, through blogs, through many, many, many different avenues, such as LinkedIn Learning. You can find a lot of stuff on LinkedIn Learning that's free. Same thing with just Googling some of these topics. This is my laundry list of the things that you need on the professional development side. You got.
Hey, Melissa.
Okay,
Melissa, sorry to butt in here, but I think we're just seeing skill set number 2 on a white background.
Oh, are you? Oh, that's weird. Okay, hold on. Let me try to share and unshare. I'm going to be probably. Voy a hacer 15 minutos. Dale, gracias. Okay. All right, let me try to share this again. And thank you, Lucas, for being my partner in crime. All right, how's that? Is it working now?
Yeah, now we're on 8 competencies to master.
Okay, super. That's exactly where I wanted to be. So first off, you've got to think critically. You've got to know how to dissect data. You have to know how to understand where to get reputable, reliable, and trustworthy data. Again, not getting caught up in media misinformation and disinformation, using the right sources and people. Materials. Being able to use data to solve problems. Being able to solve complex problems using data and objectivity. Being able to present those things by working in a team and collaborating with others. There's no I in team. I know many times we often run off and do our own things. I'm guilty of it every single day. We always have to think about how do we be better teammates? How do we collaborate better? And we're always going to fail at this. We're always going to fail at forgetting who to include, how to communicate. But doing some training on some of these things are helpful. I run a lot of events. We run a lot of events on these topics. I'm going to give you a link where you can join. You can inspire youth, students. We're all students of the world. So when I say the Student Hub, don't think that you have to be a student. We all should be learn-it-alls. I'll share a link to the hub in a moment. It's knowing how to adapt. I mean, gosh, with COVID-19, we've had to adapt a lot. We have a new normal. It's still evolving. We still don't understand it. And it's very frustrating and daunting on our mental health. We've had to learn new skills. We've had to rapidly adjust to the digital economy. And for those of us who don't have connectivity, don't have reliable internet, don't have affordable, reliable, and fast internet, it's harder. We have to be able to persuade others and recognize how do we sometimes influence others to believe in our vision and to take the steps that we need them to take, while also adapting and understanding that we're not always going to get what we want. Sometimes good is good enough. As Lucas said, personal branding, which is also part of your digital identity. Knowing who you are, what your strengths are, what your superpowers are, having a website, for example, sharing content at least monthly or quarterly, blogging, sharing photos, or whatever you feel comfortable with in your domain, in your area of expertise, in those things that you're passionate about, so that people see what you're all about. Next thing is storytelling, knowing how to create emotionally relevant stories that compel others to act and to follow through with whatever it is that you want them to do, how you want them to feel, what that call to action might be. And the last thing is mindfulness. So mental health is obviously, a huge thing now more than ever. I love now that we have the opportunity, and I know it's not always the same in every culture, to be more open about our disabilities, about our mental health, and say, you know what, I need to take a mental health day because you know what, I'm depressed. I have ADHD and I can't concentrate on this right now. Not being afraid to talk about, the things that might make us vulnerable or weak. Being mindful of those things while taking a step back and taking time out to think about ourselves, our own objectives, our personal life, our family life, whatever it is that we want in life. All right, you got it. Here we are again. Lucas, which one, and you can't pick personal branding because you already picked that on the other one. So that's a given. Outside of personal branding, which one do you think that might be on your roadmap for 2022? If you could pick one or two, which ones might you call out and say, I'm going to work on those two?
I really want to work on my storytelling. I think that is so imperative. You can have the best product in the world, but if you can't set the context and you can't explain it well and how it solves problems, then you might as well not have the best solution in the world.
Exactly. I have a friend, her name is Miri Rodriguez. I talk about her often. She's an amazing, amazing woman. She's originally from Venezuela, and she is this amazing woman in tech. She is now a master storyteller at Microsoft. Her last role at Microsoft was as the head of the internship program. She's written a book that, Lucas, I recommend you getting if you haven't already gotten it. I'm going to put it in the chat window. Her name is Miri Rodriguez. It's called Brand Storytelling. You can get it on Amazon. I'm not sure, who all has access to Amazon wherever you are. I know that sometimes, certain solutions are not available in your corner of the earth. But Miri Rodriguez also does a lot of talks. Many of them are free, if not most of them are free. You can follow her on Twitter. You can easily find her. This book that she's written is all about empathizing with your audience. She talks about the kind of formula to storytelling. She's an amazing formula. There's another book that I like, and it focuses on how do you tell stories through the lens of screenwriting. And I know, our screenplay writing, and I know that we're not always, all of us are thinking, well, wait a second, I don't want to go out and produce a movie. I'm not going to go out and write a screenplay. But there's this guy, also a friend of mine, and he has this company called Save the Cat. And they got some books. They got, you can follow them, and they've got a lot of events that they do. I've had him join me in, one of our IBM-Z student ambassador events, where he talked about the formula of storytelling. And he has taken the art of storytelling and created a mathematical formula around it, showcasing, his interest in STEM and the arts, and bringing those two things together by coming up with a formula to tell stories. So for those of you who are, thinking, well, wait a second, I'm not an artist. I don't think I'm good at telling stories. I'm not going to go and write a movie or write a screenplay. Check that out. It's really interesting. All right, I'm going to jump through because I know we're, kind of running close on time. So skill set 3. Again, I don't care if you want to be a founder. I don't care if you never want to be a CEO. All right? You still need to be able to think like an entrepreneur. There are amazing skill sets that entrepreneurs have that are all about preparing for the future of work and enabling you to stand out from others. So what kind of stuff is that? Lucas, is it showing 8 competencies to master? Okay, cool, good. First one, innovation and creativity. We have to innovate. We have to create, all while thinking about how do we connect the unconnected? How do we break things in a good way? How do we imagine the impossible? How do we make the impossible possible? Because many of the solutions and jobs that have not even been envisioned or created yet. Design thinking. There are a number of different badges that you can gain on design thinking that are free of charge from IBM. I suspect that most of you here are based on the continent. So if you're not, there are some interesting badges that you can gain access to. If I have time, I will grab a link. But for those of you who are on on online or in Africa, we have a platform that's amazing. You can learn new skills, technical, non-technical. You can look for new jobs. You can find out the competencies for those jobs, and you can align all of that stuff together through this platform. You can also get badges in design thinking. It's all about empathizing with your audience, understanding their pain points, aspirations, frustrations, whatever, goals, objectives. It's being able to put yourself into their shoes. All right. So the platform that I mentioned, it's called Digital Nation Africa. I'm going to put it in the chat window. I hope I got that right. Again, it doesn't work for me because I'm currently in the US and I'm not doing anything funky with my VPN and pretending like I'm on the continent. But for those of you on the continent, you can get a lot of great material on design thinking and many other things there. I'm also going to share a link to our student hub, which you'll be able to get materials there too. Prioritization. We have to know when am I going to say no? I am such a sucker for saying yes, and I need to get better at saying no. I suck at it, and I need to get better. I'm trying, and I'm saying no more and more. And I'm trying to say, no, that's not for me to do. Let me give that to Lucas. Let me ask Flavia if she can do that. Let me see if Pila can do that. Because for a long time in my role, I was a one-woman show, and it was just me, and I had to block and tackle and do everything I needed to do. I didn't get a lot of stuff done. I failed in a lot of areas. I had big ideas, and some of them landed, some of them didn't, because sometimes, like, I would say, yeah, let's go out and do that. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I just say? So it's very important for us to not overpromise and underdeliver. I'd rather underpromise and overdeliver. Growth mindset. We're going to fail, and we have to know that that's going to happen. We have to be comfortable with failure. Communicate it, recognize it, learn from it. It's not a failure if you learned. We also need to know how to pitch our ideas like a pro, like a real entrepreneur who's out, pitching on Shark Tank or Dragon's Den or to this fancy VC venture capitalist in Silicon Valley. Again, whether you're intrapreneur or entrepreneur, we need to know how to sell our ideas to others. And again, we got to be compelling. We got to be innovative. We have to be creative. We have to think about our customer. We have to tell a story. We have to get others to gain confidence in us and recognize that we're a thought leader, an innovator, a creator. Nobody is going to motivate you to get out of bed in the morning. Maybe your wife, your partner, your mom, I don't know. If Lucas doesn't get out of bed in the morning, I am going to call him. He may not answer, but I'm going to make sure he gets out of bed. With chances are there is more of a chance of him calling me to get me out of bed than it is me, getting him out of bed, which, by the way, has happened because sometimes I agree to do a 4 a.m. call and I'm sleeping and my alarm is going off and I'm not hearing it. And one of our teammates were calling me, Melissa, you need to present now. 100 people are waiting for you. Oh my gosh, it is 4 a.m. So again, prioritize. Think about what you say yes to, and know how to motivate yourself. I can't say self-motivation is going to make sure you wake up to your alarm, but with mindfulness and self-care, you'll get the right amount of sleep and not sleep through your alarm. We've got to be resilient. The world sucks sometimes. We got to be resilient to that. Our lives have changed. We're not doing the things that we did in 2019 and before. We're not going to these amazing IEEE conferences. We're attending through, virtual means, but we're not engaging with people as much as we used to. I leave for Poland on Saturday. I'm going to be speaking at the Internet Governance Forum, which is an annual event held by the UN that is all about bringing digital skills and connectivity and meaningful connectivity, positive policy reform and change around the world. I am so excited to have an opportunity to sit down with many people I haven't had a chance to see in several years, and I hope they'll be there. We also have to do a little bit of impostering, and that means kind of sometimes, I'm not saying you be someone you're not, but sometimes we feel like we don't belong and everyone's smarter than us and have better skills than us, is a better engineer, a better leader, a better speaker, a better writer, whatever. There's always going to be someone next to you who's better than you. Maybe You perceive that person to be better than you, but they're really not. You just imagine it in your head because you've got this bully behind you telling you that you're not good enough. Sometimes we have to imposter our way through life and recognize that, you know what? Melissa Sassi is not an engineer. She couldn't code her way out of a cardboard box. That's okay. That's when you bring other people who are smarter than Melissa Sassi in that respect. And that's okay. That doesn't make you, less capable, less competent. Maybe you can't go out and build a mobile application, but this is where you bring your crew and you become that team and you collaborate together and you recognize what your superpowers are and what they're not. All right, Lucas, how are you going to be a better entrepreneur in 2022? Where do you have to focus? Where do you currently suck in your mind?
I think that I can work on my prioritization, and that's something that I've really been working on the last few weeks here. I've got my checklist over to the side here, and that really has helped me work on my prioritization and understanding what I need to get done so that I know what I can't get done, so I know what I need help doing.
I think also one of those things too is knowing who to prioritize. Because sometimes you've got a lot of people, I'm going to be 15 minutes. You got a lot of people coming at you. You got a lot of people coming at you asking for stuff. And sometimes they're all really, important people. And all this stuff is important. And sometimes you need to look and be like, yeah, you don't matter. But, I got to respond to you. And I'm not saying that that is the most senior person in the team. Because sometimes your executive is asking you for crazy stuff. Sometimes people more experienced than you, more knowledgeable than you. Sometimes your boss, the person who controls your paycheck and your ability to get promoted, is asking for stuff that gets in the way of other things that are more important. So you got to figure out how do you balance that? How do you manage up and manage your boss a little bit? Abdullateef, what about you? Anything, any areas where you need to work on to be a better entrepreneur? Also, feel free to use the chat window. Anyone else who has something that they need
I
to
think
work
for
on.
me, it's I'll go in line with Lucas. I think I need to say no many times now, because I do say yes most of the time, and I think it's time for me to say no and prioritize based on my availability, and also try to see if I can improve on the pitch like a pro, so that I can save other people's time as well. In the sense that just need like 60 seconds to talk to people about the whole idea, and they'll be able to get it.
Exactly. You've got to have your elevator speech down. You got to know what you want, what it's all about, what the history is, why they should care, what you want them to do. Speaking of that, I have something that I want you to do. Well, Lucas too, Abdullateef as well. I have included a link to our IBM-Z Global Student Hub. This is a link that I would like you to go to. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to register in the platform. It's very simple. You will go through, fill out the form, put in your email address. You will get an email that will ask you for some numbers. You're going to include those numbers from your email to validate that you really exist and that you have an email address. And then you're going to accept the terms and conditions. You're going to join the group. Why are you going to do this? Because we have events and talks and content on all of these topics. Not all of it's there yet, but it will be, especially in 2022, which is one thing that I'm working on, in terms of being, prioritizing that more and making sure that I don't just do a bunch of talks that never make their way into blogs or materials online or recordings, so that it's not just about attending live, but being able to gain access to this stuff otherwise. So I'm gonna jump over here then. So, all right, you might not be a superhuman yet. You might not have a friendly AI sitting next to you, planning for you to go and live on Mars or in the Milky Way or whatever. But hopefully this gives you a checklist of things to help you prepare for the future of work. As I mentioned, we encourage you, whether you're a student or not, to join our IBM-Z Global Student Hub. You can find more of my talks, more of our talks, more opportunities to engage here. You can also post a discussion question. If anyone has students and you'd like to have an event with us and like to do something with a nonprofit, your group, that sits outside of IEEE, outside of your university, outside of whatever. Go here, post a discussion question. Lucas and I will be on the lookout, and we would love to collaborate more. We have many, many opportunities to engage, platforms for you to learn digital skills, and many, many other things. So again, my name is Dr. Melissa Sassi. I'm the Chief Penguin of IBM-Z, working on our Student and Entrepreneur Experience team. I'm going to include my Twitter handle in the chat window. And that's one thing that we are going to work on together, Lucas, is we got to up your Twitter chops. Right now, your personal brand is in the toilet in Twitter. So
we'll work on it. I'll take some notes from you as an expert.
Enter at your own risk. There are certain things you should not follow because you'll get called out on it. So enter at your own risk. I'm also going to put in my LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me. If you attended today, add a little note that you attended today. That will help make sure that I accept you. Sometimes if your LinkedIn profile is not set up right, or I can't tell who you are and it doesn't look relevant to me, sometimes I don't accept. So add a note, and I'd be happy to accept you, and or follow me on Twitter. Abdullateef, I'd love to turn it over to you to see if, and I know we're up on time, but hopefully I made up for it okay by going rather quickly.
All right, thank you very much, Melissa. I think we appreciate the fact that you're able to tell us what we need or require to be ready for the future. I can see it's getting a little bit late here in Nigeria. I see a lot of people, we started with 50 and now we're just about 50%, but it's okay. We'd like to use this opportunity to thank you for spending our time to be in our midst today at the first Innovation and Research Week for Bayes University. For your information, Bayes University is a very dear institution to our heart, I think in the IEEE, and we're doing a lot together. The Deputy Vice Chancellor of Research is also a senior member of IEEE, and he was the one that put all this together. So I don't know if Dr. Islan is still on the call for final remarks, but I think it's been a very insightful presentation from Melissa, and thank you, Lucas, for the engagement. You added the spice to it. So, Rislan, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bill. Thank you very much, Melissa. And thank you very much, Lucas. We really, really appreciated your commitment and time. And we thought you get frustrated when you are unable to connect, but you are kind enough to get back to us. So thank you very much. We look forward to do more of this, and we look forward to have you in our campus sometime next year. Bayes University is a good friend of IEEE. We have done many things together, and Abdul is also a good partner and a friend and a brother. And we look forward to have more footprint of IEEE, IBM-Z events and activities and impact in this part of the world. So we appreciate you more. Thank you very much for that. And we will extend the conversation with Abdul so that we can put up some action points for next year. Majority of us are already trying to handle for this year. So we'll put some plans where we can engage maybe quarterly, maybe weekly. And we're excited. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just before we all go sign off, I think there's an event that Melissa and the IBM team are putting together on the 18th of December. It's called the IBM Zit Summit. I think it's just going to be on Crowdcast. So I think the link will share it on this, and you can share it to all people that participated in this great conference to please join on the 18th for us to take this discussion forward.
Absolutely. I think there are some awesome things that we would love to bring to the table, and we have some things ready and waiting for you. One example is Hour of Z, which is right here. So please register for that. Please share this with your students, with those around you. It's going to be a great event. We're collaborating with Abdullateef and many others. So for those of you currently in Nigeria, go off. I don't know what time it is for you, but just hearing Nigeria, I'm automatically hungry for jollof rice. So please go out and have some jollof rice for me, because I could use some. It's 11 o'clock, and I don't know if it's okay to eat jollof rice for breakfast, because it's still kind of breakfast time for me, but I please eat some in my honor.
Yeah, thank you. We look forward to see you. And as Abdul said earlier, Base University have the basic infrastructure to use as a launch pad to do more in Africa. I mean, in the morning we had very provoking and I can say prescriptive presentation, putting up data around out of school, and post-COVID, from the data we got, we'll be having about 21 children that will be out of school. And in the morning, the first presentation we had is from the technical advisor of the Minister of Education. And he shared with us things he's doing around digitalization, content development, localizing education to Nigerians' perspective. And we also had a few presentations from Infraco, guys putting up the infrastructure around. And as I've said, BES will be happy to work with you, put up a project together and scale up. We need to do more. It's a time that all must collaborate. There will be no time for organization to be doing project alone. We must partner with you. We must extend capabilities and competence. Thank you very much, Melissa. Thank you very much, Lucas. Thank you very much, Abdul, for putting this together. And thank you, colleagues, for being with us all through over the last 8 or 7 hours. And we look forward to see you more. Thank you.
Awesome. We're ready to collaborate. So Abdullateef will coordinate, through you as you see fit. But we've got a lot of this material we can share. We're happy to do big event, small event, do like a massive takeover. I don't know, find an excuse to get Lucas and I to Nigeria. We're ready. We our bags are packed. So I have many friends and colleagues in Nigeria. So many of them I've never met in real life, like you, Abdullateef. So help us make that happen. I know the secret sauce to get approval. So let's think of something creative and innovative that could actually bridge from doing this virtually to doing it in real life.
Yeah, there's a direct flight to Abuja now, all the way from US. United landed here, so you don't have to waste time.
Yeah, I think after we may allow colleagues. We have few HODs. We have the registrar of the university online. We have the principal assistant registrar. We have the personal advisor to the vice chancellor. He's here taking note on his behalf. And we have few other colleagues from R&D, from IT, from even account and finance. So if they have something to put up for us, maybe comment, feedback, and ways where we can move on. And at base, as I've said earlier, we're not looking at baseline capabilities. Digital literacy, we have at base. Basic infrastructure, we have. We're looking at how do we begin to translate this infrastructure, this capability into metrics, into intervention that can scale up the triple helix or quadruple helix innovation model. So colleagues, you have the floor if you have anything to add. The registrar maybe may put up some words for us. Manny, I think he exited. So anyway, thank you very much, Melissa. Thank you, Lucas. We look forward to see you all. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, have a great night, everyone. Go off and enjoy your jollof rice now.